Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and I usually get people who ask me, what do I do for my back? Because I'm obviously a powerlifter, not a bodybuilder. My back development tends to be quite good whenever I turn around and people see it. It's usually noticed. And to be honest with you guys, my back training has never been complicated. I have never once worried about things like muscle fiber angle of a pull or squeezing at the top, and I have pretty big lats and traps, almost exclusively from just free weight exercises, right? And I've done a wide variety of rows and things over the years, different types of deadlifts. Obviously, I do all those things. I quit doing pull-ups quite some time ago because I've just noticed as I've gotten older, I get serious overuse issues in my shoulders very easily on them. So for me, it's been just the basics: rowing, deadlifting, and I do prescribe some of those other things for some of my clients. Some of my clients do lat pull downs, some of my clients do pull ups and chin ups. But that's different. I kind of base that upon what each lifter needs. But for me, I just stick with the tried and true basics. At the moment, the time this video is made, I'm just showing stuff from the same training week, stuff I did this week. Really only 3 real back exercises if we take out things like the reverse hyperextensions, but that's really just lower back. So, in this case, you guys see me doing heavy sets of deadlifts, and then I do a couple different types of rows, usually for pretty high reps. Do I occasionally do, periods of time where I do lower rep rowing? Sure. But I don't usually do it very often, and I don't do it for very long. It's usually 10 plus reps, right? 10 plus reps, anything in about the 10 up to the 15 rep range. With 10 kind of being the baseline is normal. And at the time of making this video, of course, it's seal rows and one-arm dumbbell rows. And I like those because they're chest supported. If I'm doing a lot of axial loading stuff, a lot of squatting, a lot of deadlifting, I don't like to do any sort of standing row that puts stress on my lower back, okay, because I tend to do an upper day and then I do a lower day right after, and then usually a day off. So if I do that, I don't want my low back excessively fatigued, and I can occasionally get away with it. I mean, I've done bent over rows and things pretty heavy, and then done heavy rep work on the deadlifts the next day, but, I can't always sustain that for long periods of time. It starts to become an issue for me. So I like a lot of chest supported stuff like this. All right, now granted, we can't get as much body English, so we can't really cheat for eccentric type overloading, because I think that's what we need to keep in mind when it comes to eccentric overload. It's not what people think. People talk about eccentrics and they don't study science very well, and they think that it means really slow reps, but that's not eccentric overloading, and that doesn't really work particularly well when you look at the literature. It's heavy eccentrics, meaning you cheat just a little bit so that you can load the eccentric a little heavier on a movement, on the way back down, because it's a weight you might not really be able to lift strictly. So we can't really do much of that in these cases because they're very strict, but we do get a lot of just direct tension on the lats, the traps, all of those things, rhomboids, posterior deltoids, right? And I don't really do anything in the way of real trap work, and I haven't in a long time. I find the rowing and deadlifts handles that quite well. So people will see when I turn all the way around, they'll be like, wow, your traps are, pretty thick. Because you can see them there even from a downward angle. You can still see them poking up. I don't do anything special for them, just heavy pulling. So what you're seeing here, though, is seal rows and one-arm dumbbell rows. Notice I do them without straps. That's another thing too that people will bring up of, I strap up so that my back doesn't get neglected. Right? You saw my arm extend out and my lats there. Really? Do you really think that matters? Or is that just an excuse to not work on your grip? Is that just an excuse to have small forearms? Because what I find about the whole ton of the guys, lots of guys that I've met over the decades, because I'm 46, I've been doing this a while, who say those things and then they strap up, they still don't have a back, so now they have no grip, they have no forearms, and then they still have a tiny ass back. And I mean, I get it. If you're doing it to do really heavy cheat rows, and I mean really heavy, and again, I know that's relative, but if you're not advanced enough to really row a really heavy ass cheat row, and 200 pounds is not heavy, okay, then I think that's a complete waste of time. I think it is a complete waste of time to even think about strapping up for that. Now, if you're doing sets of 10 or 12 with 315, 365, 405 on cheat rows, and you can't grip that, okay, I get it. I will be the first to say, okay, in that case, some straps make sense, right? But if you're a grown man and your cheat rows are with 175 pounds and you can't grip that for 10 reps without straps, you need to throw the straps away, because first of all, the problem you have no grip, you have no forearms. That is a ridiculously weak level of grip. And if you just tossed the straps and just trained without them, your grip would catch back up and it wouldn't be a problem. Like I said, I get it when you start dealing with really massive weights. Okay. But you guys have watched me do cheat rows with like 275 for work sets with no straps, just straight up holding onto it. Okay. Granted, I have a strong grip. I'm a power lifter. I deadlift heavy. All right. Same thing. People worried about the contraction at the top. That is not based on any science. And in fact, if you look at the literature, the contraction at the top is almost completely irrelevant. So you're going to waste energy worrying about it? No, just get up and row some heavy ass weights through a nice long range of motion and try to get a stretch at the bottom. Okay, that stretch position is where most of the work is. Okay, just row it up, just get it up. Make sure you stretch at the bottom. Okay, done. Heavy deadlifts are the finishing touch. There is data suggesting deadlifts work lats and traps very effectively. I will, of course, be the first to say I don't think it's necessarily a good primary builder for those areas. I've known plenty of very strong deadlifters who don't have lats, who don't train their lats or do rows and stuff. However, again, we come back over to if you really cared about the contraction and you're talking about that isometrics, well, that people are trying to get by squeezing at the top, the deadlift would be the best possible tool you could use for that, because you're going to be able to use a lot more weight. You're going to have it in that position. But I do think it contributes as part of a well-rounded back program. I think traps particularly, I think deadlifts do a lot. Even though the EMGs light up for lats, I don't think they're particularly great a lat exercise, because it's all isometric in the contraction position, in the shortened position. But I think in the grand scheme of things, the deadlifts still contribute overall to a well-rounded back development. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.